Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about Cyberpunk Bartender Action Valhalla. This game is, it's a pretty dialogue heavy game, honestly. So the gameplay is going to be kind of rushing through the first day of the game mostly, and kind of just showing how it works. The majority of the gameplay focuses, like I said, on the dialogue, but you also do indeed have to mix drinks. And there's a certain charm to it because all of the characters that you meet and become introduced to are all very different from one another. They all have their own little stories that unfold, and you'll see in the gameplay I give a lot of people like bigger versions of the drinks that they ask for. That will change things in the dialogue, that'll directly change how things behave and how people behave. Certain drinks will have optional karmatrine, which is the alcoholic substance of the drinks. So you can just pile it in there and get as much drunkenness as you possibly can. And if you get people drunk, that'll obviously change their dialogue. And you can ultimately kind of change their stories. The game has a whole lot of endings. I've gotten one of them. I finished the game one time, and I would like to go ahead and finish up the other endings as well at some point or another. The game's got a lot to love though. It's got a really interesting and, might I add, very good soundtrack. It's all mostly electronic type music, very much fitting of the atmosphere. The graphics are very good as far as like being visually pleasing. They're not like it's not the most graphically intense game out there, but it is definitely pleasing to the eye. The art style is beautiful. I absolutely love the art style. Whoever's idea this was over at the studio that made this is an absolute genius. I know they've got a sequel, Nirvana Cyberpunk Bartender Action, coming eventually, and I'm looking forward to that. But for now, we just have the Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action, which is fine. It's a really, really good experience. It's very laid back, very, very chilled out kind of game. There's not really very high action, despite the name having action in it, and it's also a very relaxing kind of game. It's just the kind of game that you grab a drink, you grab some snacks, maybe a cigarette, you just fucking hang out. You know, you hang out, you enjoy the story, you enjoy the experience, you enjoy the ride. It takes you for a ride, and it's not hard to get completely invested in each of these characters. Even the characters that, like, the first couple times you meet them, it's like, wow, that guy's a fucking douchebag. After a while, they might get more interesting. Might start learning more about them, and it's like, okay. And then of course, you know, your primary character, the character you're playing as, Jill, also has her own story that you'll be learning about as you play the game through dialogue and experiences with other people. And there's also the coworker character, Gillian, who is he's a mystery, and then your boss, who has a lot of mystery about her as well. You kind of learn a little bit about her, but not a whole lot. The game has definitely got a variety of references to other games, my favorite of which being a reference told through a story about a dying android who was not uploaded to the cloud so that he could have a new body when this one fails. So when that body failed, he just would be dead. And his name was Dark One, I think. And he gave our main character his finger. And he was a pretty blatant reference to Dark Souls. I'm obviously leaving details out. If you get to that point, and you like Dark Souls, you'll definitely notice the clear reference there. He's very clearly intended to be a Dark Souls type of character, and very clearly he is obviously dead. But the variety of characters, the variety of music that you can play through, you have a jukebox that you get to choose during each half of your shift which songs you listen to. I mostly just listen to the same song on repeat because the bass kicks the hardest, and it it's a fucking banger. But there's a whole lot of songs. There's ways to unlock more songs as you progress. There's ways to unlock more furniture and clutter around your room as you progress, but you also have to pay your bills and stuff too, so you can't just go spending all your money willy-nilly. There's also the possibility to just screw up with people's drinks and give them the wrong thing, because they're not always going to tell you, I want this drink specifically, or I want a drink that tastes like this. You know, sometimes they'll give you a really vague description, you're left to kind of figure it out, and if you get the drinks wrong, not only will you not make money for them, but you will also notice that the dialogue will be a little bit different, because they'll be a little disappointed that you didn't give them the drink they were asking for. And with that said though, some characters will ask for certain drinks, and then you can give them other drinks instead. Specific other drinks, obviously, not just whatever the hell you want. And these characters' dialogues will change. Like if you just, there's one character who's an obvious gay man, and he's asking for all the manliest drinks that you can make, but if you give him a bunch of girly drinks, like he'll really enjoy them, and kind of like let his guard down a little bit over time, and you know, kind of just accept the fact that that's what he likes, and that's okay. And I thought that, like in his scenario anyway, I thought that was really cool. It was fucking awesome, if you ask me, because that had like just a nice little message about just embracing who you are, embracing yourself, and just being fine with it, you know. And it also speaks to the stereotype that men have to drink manly drinks when they drink, you know. And like manly drinks taste like shit a lot of the time. Let's be honest with ourselves. Beer's garbage. There's fucking girly drinks out there. Have you ever drank girl beer? Girly beer tastes great. Regular beer tastes like shit. That's just how it is. Girly drinks tend to be sweeter and taste better. They'll still get you drunk. There should be, but the stigma keeps dudes from drinking these girly drinks because they're girly. That's dumb. So I like the message behind just drink what you want to drink, do what you want to do. You know, enjoy yourself. You're not out to impress anybody. You're just out there to have a good time and more or less impress yourself. There's a lot of messages that are strewn throughout the game through different characters' personal conflicts and experiences that you hear about, because you're playing from the role of a bartender. So these people come in regularly and tell you about their day, and they tell you what's going on with their lives. They vent to you, they complain to you, they ask you for advice, and all kinds of stuff. There isn't a huge variety of dialogue choices. The way that you will shift dialogue to and fro to kind of ebb and flow towards whatever ending you're specifically going for is going to very heavily depend on what kind of drinks you're giving people. Are you just following it by the book? Are you giving them big versions of drinks, whether they like it or not? Are you getting the drinks wrong? Are you getting the drinks right? Everything with that all comes into play, which is an interesting mechanic that instead of swaying the dialogue one way or the other through dialogue options, you're doing so through serving drinks, which I find to be very interesting and a very well thought out system. There's definitely a large amount of replayability. You'll definitely get a few hours out of it. I think it took me probably somewhere between 8 to 10 hours to finish my first run through the game, so it's pretty decent. Seeing as it's like $15 on Steam, $15 or $20 I think. So it's not a very expensive game, and you could definitely get a lot out of it just playing through the first time, let alone playing through subsequent playthroughs to gain other endings and gain other, experiences with these characters, to see other sides of them, to see what they're like when they're drunk, or to see what they're like when, you give them the polar opposite drink in certain cases and stuff. There's a lot of room to experiment and kind of see what works with people and see how things affect them. So overall, though, it's a really, really solid game. Lots and lots of easy playing, easy going, just kind of smooth out experience. You're just there to have a good old time, just like you are when you're at the bar in real life. The difference is that you're behind the bar this time. But I've met quite a few bartenders that seem like they're having a good old time, so that's always cool too. Honestly, though, there is definitely a lot to love, a lot to enjoy here, and I definitely have a pretty strong recommendation to play this one. So that's pretty much all there is for me to say about Valhalla Bartender Cyberpunk Bartender Action. I'm going to be attempting a set schedule for uploads, and I'm trying to implement that starting with this video particularly. So hopefully that will be smoothly transitioned, and we'll just see what the future holds. But for now, I will see all of you later. Farewell.